Good morning. All right, today, as Taylor said, is the Emerging Kingdom Leaders Chapel. It's good, get excited. We need excitement, it's a good thing. All right, this is a group of freshmen and transfer students who have committed during this year to grow in their faith and to grow in leadership. It's a time intentionally set aside for them to learn more about who God created them to be, for them to learn what it's like to grow alongside of other people in the context of community, for them to really understand and embrace their strengths, and for them to start to grasp how their weaknesses might be revealed to other people. And at the end of the year, together with incredible hosts and volunteers, they put on what we call TIU 360. Excitement? Come on. It's a big deal. Okay, and there are EKLers here right now who came to 360 2 years ago, 3 years ago, and even 4 years ago. And because they were on our campus and you guys were so incredibly hospitable, they saw the warmth of this community and the authenticity of this community. And seriously, one of them chose 4 years ago to come to Trinity just by coming to 360 and the way our community embraced him. Okay? And I know that the majority of you have in some way participated in helping support 360. From whether it's you're advancing the slides on the computer in the back so we can keep up with the speakers, or some of you give up your Friday night and you move chairs in the chapel so we can do the coffee house. Everything you guys have done, I want you to know it was for the purpose of glorifying God, and there were literally people who've come to Christ as a result of coming to 360. So thank you for all you've done to support us. The EKLers and myself know beyond a shadow of a doubt that 360 could not take place without the help of the entire community. So thank you to all of you for every piece you do. It is all so, so important. So one of the first assignments that we do as a group of EKLers is to write a short paper on what leadership means to us. Okay, so you each have a note card. I placed it there myself. So pick it up. If you have something to write with, please get that out. And on this note card, I want you to just write down a few characteristics of when you think of the quintessential leader. Like, oh yeah, that's a leader. What does that mean? How would you describe that person? Just jot a few characteristics down. If you don't have a pencil, maybe your neighbor can let you borrow theirs. Okay, just 3 or 4 characteristics. The quintessential leader. Thanks for sharing your pen. We're so hospitable, I love it. So for me, a few years ago, if you would have asked me to do this exercise, the characteristics I would have written down would have encompassed something like a Steve Jobs type of person. Okay, he's charismatic, he's upfront, he's passionate, he casts vision, and he runs the show. Okay, so how many of you resonate with that? You wrote something around in that area. Any of us? All right. Okay, research shows that upon entering college, most of us believe that in order to lead, we have to be the top dog. Okay, we have to be the one running the show. So that means if I'm going to call myself a leader while I'm in college, I need to be the captain of the soccer team, or I need to be the president of the gospel choir or of band, or I need to be the president of the community partnerships cabinet. But whatever it takes, I need to get to that top position. What I want you to know is that at Trinity, we believe that leadership is about much more than this. way more. And we believe leadership is actually about your soul. And leadership is deeply, deeply intertwined with discipleship. We don't want to just teach you knowledge about what it means to be a good leader. And we don't just want to teach you behaviors about how to act like a good leader. We actually want you to be transformed. So we want you to be a different person at the end of the process than you were when you began. And we believe this happens as God gets a hold of your heart. And when God gets a hold of your heart, he starts to transform you more and more into his image. So rather than just having an influence in the world, which we all do, good or bad, our prayer is that you would have a redemptive influence. So here's how we describe leadership at Trinity. Individuals are made in the image of God and thus have the capacity to bring redemptive influence into the lives of others. Christians specifically are called to be salt and light in the world for God's kingdom purposes. Not for your own purposes, for God's kingdom purposes. Our ultimate goal at Trinity is to join God in his mission to redeem individuals, transform communities, and impact the world with the gospel, striving for alignment with his kingdom mission and purposes. Okay, take that in for a minute. Might be a little bit different than what you're used to hearing about leadership. Okay. Now, as you enter the new Student Leadership Development Office, above the door you'll see 3 words: learn, grow, serve. Pretty simple. First one, learn. You are at college. Learning is expected, right? We want you to learn and to know that you are all made in the image of God. And we all have the capacity to influence. This means every single person in this room and on our campus has potential. We have potential to lead. We have potential to be people of redemptive influence. We want you to learn that leadership is not simply positional and based on hierarchy. Although for some of us, we may be called to serve in that capacity. Okay? And even throughout different seasons of life, we might be in different positions of leadership. And I have no doubt that God will use some of you powerfully in some of those positions if he's not already. Dr. Dockery wouldn't stand up here and say he is the only leader at Trinity. Okay? It's not just about being at the top of the hierarchy. So we want you to learn content and knowledge. We want you to pay attention to the words of Jesus. We want you to think about what it means to cast vision or how you build a great team. Yes, these things are all important. We also want you to think about how you conduct yourself, what your behavior is. So ultimately, we want you to pay attention to the works of Jesus. We want you to learn to ask good questions. We want you to be resourceful. We want you to develop grit so that when things get tough, when you're leading, okay, when you're influencing people, you suck it up and you move on, right? You be strong for others, all right? But these 2 things alone, knowledge and behavior, will not prepare you to be a redemptive influence for Christ and his kingdom. We believe that being a redemptive influence starts in your heart. And our prayer is that as you learn, you might grow more and more into the likeness of Jesus. So the second word, grow. We hope that everything you do while you're at Trinity is formative. Again, we don't want you to just know what Jesus knew or do what Jesus did. We want you, each and every one of you, to be who Jesus made you to be. This is a person rooted and established in love, walking in the way that he has laid out for us. Scripture is clear that the way of Jesus is love. Paul tells us in 1 Corinthians 13 that love is indispensable. Without it, we gain nothing. Nothing. Love enables everything else to be something and to have meaning. Love is the way of Jesus. It is how he knows, and it is how he does. It is what actually motivates him. If love is the way of Jesus, then Jesus isn't out to act in just the right way so that anyone who catches him at any point of the day goes, hey, you kind of acting like the Son of God over there. Okay? He also just isn't trying to share just the right bit of knowledge with everybody so that he sounds like the Son of God. His words and actions, his knowledge and behavior are full of life and healing for those who are willing to listen. He is not putting on a show for other people so that he looks like the Son of God. He embodies love. Now I want you to flip your card over. So you pen sharers, get ready to do that again. Okay, on the back of the card, I want you to think of a person who has had a redemptive influence in your life and to write down a few characteristics that would describe them. Okay, if you can't think of anybody, think of somebody you read about in a book. Or think about one of your friends and someone that might have impacted them and what they've told you about them. Okay, I pray that all of you have had someone who has had a positive influence, a redemptive influence in your life. Okay? So this is Tripp Sizemore. And before I came to Trinity, I lived in North Carolina. And this is the man who discipled me for many years. He was a man who taught me that I didn't have to work my way into the gospel, that it was actually free and available to everyone, that God's love was actually available to me. I couldn't even grasp that. How the creator of the universe would love little old me. He also taught me through his own life what it looks like to live out the gospel. Okay, and on my card, what is written is unconditional love, courage, kindness, patience, and a beautiful blend of truth and grace. Now, I'm going to guess that just like my card, that your card might have some discrepancies between the front and the back. Anyone? Thank you. Come on, guys. All right. So for me, over time, the front and the back of my note card have begun to look the same. Because I've begun to learn that leadership is not just holding a position of authority. It's about being a person of influence, a person of redemptive influence. This doesn't mean that Steve Jobs is bad or wrong. God created him and he led his company very well. God will equip those he calls into these types of positions. But I would like to say that there is more to leadership and more kinds of leaders than those simply represented through the persona of Steve Jobs. So our prayer is that you would become a person of redemptive influence. This takes work. This takes trust, this takes perseverance, this takes community, and this takes love. One of the current EKL coaches describes their leadership experience like this. For me, leadership development at Trinity has been an aspect of my college experience that I believe has been some of the most formative times of my life. I say that because what happened to me was that I was given an opportunity to step into the unknown. I know there were times, especially during my first year of leadership, where I was called to a higher standard. Not in that I was judged or forced to become someone, but it caused me to realize that I can lead. But in order to do so, I need to continue to allow the Lord into my life, into my broken areas, and shine through those weaknesses. It has caused me to seek healing in my life so God can continue to use my own story and abilities for his kingdom. Leadership development also has caused me to open up my mind to see that God can use anyone to lead. He calls us into community and calls us to work together in life and for specific tasks in life. I've learned how to see value in working as a team and put trust in others to help accomplish great things. I've seen the value in different strengths and personalities God has given people, and I've seen God do some incredible things when his people come together with a willingness to see him move. Our hope is that regardless of where you're serving right now on this campus, where you are influencing, because every single one of you has an influence on this campus. You are influencing the people sitting next to you right now. Every single one of you. Our prayer is that this influence is redemptive. So the third word is serve. Okay? We want you to learn, we want you to grow, and ultimately, we want you to serve. Our ultimate goal at Trinity is to join God in his mission to redeem individuals, transform communities, and impact the world with the gospel, striving for alignment with his kingdom mission and purposes. That not only would we be transformed, but that all those we come in contact with would experience transformation, blessing, and healing. That we would all flourish. So now we're going to watch a 4-minute video. And as you watch it, I want you to be thinking about what redemptive influence might look like in your own life.
What a freak. Ah, this girl's annoying. What a bunch of tools. Hey, wash your good. Shoot, no. I think you dropped those. I don't need glasses.
Hey guys,
Lay off him, man. Are you okay, buddy? Hey. I really like your drawings. There's a talent show tonight. Do you want to go with me?
Sure.
I'm headed out to my car. Do you want to come with?
It's okay.
So how long have you been drawing? Nice. I drew in 6th grade too.
They're friends, right? So it wasn't some creepy guy saying, come to my car, okay? So don't go there, don't go there. All right? You'll miss the point. Okay, the point is he had a new lens on life, right? And this video is just a small taste of what our campus could look like if we chose to become leaders, to become people of redemptive influence, and to serve one another. Once his perspective was changed and his heart was made new, and he saw things with new eyes, he was motivated by love. He was no longer telling himself a story about each person, but he was seeing them for who they actually were, hurting people who are deeply loved by God and made in his image. His words began to bring healing and life rather than piling up more hurt. Rather than naming others freak and tool, he moved toward them with an invitation of grace and truth. Rather than positioning himself like this to the rest of the world, like he was at the beginning of the video, he positioned himself like this, as a way to receive the love that the Lord is constantly pouring out over us, and then allowing it to flow through him to others, like rivers of living water. 1 John 4:8 says, "Love is who God is, and our love is evidence that we are becoming more like him." So what if we all did our part to work out our sanctification? What if, one, we actually got to know this Jesus that's all about love, this creator of the universe who loves each and every one of us in a personal way? What if, one, we got to know him? And two, what if we actually grew in relationship with him? Not just, yeah, I got that. I know Jesus. He's cool. But we actually got to know Jesus. Because the more you get to know Jesus, the more you get to know yourself. And a lot of us are so terrified to see the truth about ourselves, so we keep Jesus and other people like this. And we put on all these other masks and all these other clothes and the right kind of socks and the right kind of strut. And we want the world to think we're okay. But inside, what we're longing for is to be seen and to be loved. And I don't think there's a person in here who could say those aren't two things you long for. So Dr. Dockery's talked to us about Romans 12 and what it looks like to build a Christ-like community. What would it look like on our campus here at Trinity if we lived out Romans 12 and not just we memorized it, and not just we acted it out, but that it actually transformed us? Here's what Romans 12 calls us to do. Reagan read it to us. Christ-like love for one another, discernment, devotion to one another, honoring one another, enthusiasm for God, being generous with our encouragement, being hospitable, not just to one another, but to anyone we come in contact with, believing the best about others. How many of you have done that successfully today? Every person you've come in contact with, you have believed the best about them. I know I have not. Identifying with others, weeping with them when they weep, and rejoicing when good things happen to them. Not being angry or jealous or bitter, but rejoicing alongside of them. Living in harmony with one another, and having a posture of humility, seeking excellence without pride. Now, if all of these things are motivated by love and not just achieving what looks like Christ-like behavior or sounds like Christ-like wisdom, we will most certainly be a community of leaders, people of redemptive influence, no matter where God takes us. So that the worship band can come up. I want to just close with this scripture, with this truth, this prayer. So I pray that you, being rooted and established in love, may have power together with all the Lord's holy people to grasp how wide and long and high and deep is the love of Christ for each and every one of you. And to know that this love surpasses any knowledge, that you may be filled to the measure of all the fullness of God. And that out of this rootedness of love would flow redemptive influence. Amen.